Hello and welcome to the 2 p.m. News. I'm Ted Harris, and this week we have a very special Mother's Day edition of our show. And yes, before those ever helpful emails come flocking in, we know we are early this year. But we wanted to make sure that this year's episode got aired, unlike last year's, thanks to a certain Cheryl in processing and the fire she set in the break room. That's not going to happen this year like we promised, because thankfully Cheryl is behind bars, and not showing up to work straight from one. Anyway, we're going to start this off right away with our very own Dan Ingalls. Take it away, Dan.
Thank you, Teddy. Now, this year is all about helpful tips and reminders for all of our mothers and motherly figures out there, gathered by our very own Gina in our research department. Hi, Gina. Anyway, our first tip is as follows. Ladies, your house will never be clean. It just won't. So why don't you put down that vacuum and you put away those wipes and those sprays and you go take this day for you. Why? Because you deserve it, honey. Uh-huh. That's right. Because housework, much like herpes, will always come back. Trust me. And besides, those kids are too busy on their phones to even pay attention to how much work you're doing around the house anyway. So why don't you go put down that broom, go pour yourself a stiff drink, you come back and put your feet up, because honey, you deserve it. Alright, back to you, Teddy.
Thank you, Dan. Now, before we move on to tip number 2, we're going to fill you in with everything sports related with our brand new intern, CJ. Off to you, CJ.
Hi, I'm CJ, and this week I have the pleasure of covering the sports. So, a few days ago, I got to attend a very intense game of volley, basket, hockey, ball, whatever, between the red shirts and the purple shirts. Now, I'm not exactly sure who won, because there's a whole lot of cheering going on, something was happening, I'm not really sure. But what I am sure about is that if they were judging on the uniforms, the red team won by a landslide. So much. They had these awesome, deep red little shirts on and shorts with this cute little gold trim that had just the right amount of metallic sheen to them to give them a nice pop. It was gorgeous. Red and gold, always a good color combination. It's a classic. Especially when you compare it to the other team. I mean, pastel purple and brown. That hurts to even think about. I'm not sure who designed these uniforms, but if you're watching, please, I have a tip for you. Unless you are delivering mail or making some sort of statement with fur, brown, never a good idea. Stay away. Keep that in mind. Thanks. But that's all for sports for today. I guess that's all. Back to you, Teddy.
Good attempt, CJ. We're going to take you guys on back to Dan now for tip number 2. Dan?
Tip number 2 to always keep in mind, ladies. Your children will always be up to something. Like always. All the time. You won't know what this something is. And you certainly can't find out for yourself. They're not going to tell you. Children are like tiny terrorists of your household. You're just going to have to accept that. Back to you, Teddy.
Thank you, Dan. And another, hopefully, less disturbing news, we're going to turn you guys over to George Putz with the weather. Come on, George, why don't you fill us in on everything climate?
It's fucking cold!
Okay. Another very informative segment with our very own George Putz. Thank you, George. Now we're going to go see if things have changed for the better over with our very own Dan Engelman. Dan?
Tip number 3, timeouts don't do anything. They don't do anything. What you need to do is you need to chase him down and you need to grab that little son of a...
Okay, that's all we have for you folks this week. I'm Teddy Harris signing off from the 2 p.m. News. Please tune in again next week for some more quality programming with hopefully fewer hosts. Good day, everyone. I hate my job.